Let's do it.
Uh, this is Ted Hicks from Late Night Parents. Ways to follow the show, latenightparents.com. We have Danny Thompson in the building testing out our new platform here at HAPS. Danny, how you doing?
It's a beautiful night that looks like Instagram on the sun, but we get it's an adjustment period, I guess.
Yeah, it's an adjustment period. It really is. It's something new, it's something fresh. Um, I'm willing to give the developers some time, but we had you here on the clock because you're into a little bit of everything. So thank you for taking out the time.
Of course.
Um, how's the family been? How have you been?
It's been great. Just got back from a high school football game out here. Phoebus High School was taking on tap, first round of the state playoffs. It's just getting started, and I get getting engulfed in the 757 culture up here. So it's now getting out the house a little bit more and enjoying the things around here that make this place special. So I'm starting to
Good.
enjoy it a lot more.
Are you finding yourself more into now that you're in the 757, you become acclimated with the area, um, enjoying minor league sports, high school sports, collegiate sports?
The last 2 weeks going into high school football in the last 2 weeks, and now college basketball is about to start. So I know that up here, Ted, you have in just this area alone, you have Hampton, you have Norfolk State, you have ODU, William and Mary, all within Virginia State, all within a driving distance, literally not far away. And then if I really want to go a little bit further, there's VCU in Richmond, about an hour away, and then a little further up the part 64 is Charlottesville in UVA. So there's plenty of college basketball, and I got to go up to UVA because it's Coach K's last year, so I got to do a little bit of time up there, and
Yes, you
and
do.
I got to see Coach K before it's all over with.
Yes, you do. Hey, I want to talk to you about an article. Like I said, it's a new platform because usually what we would have is a few images up. It would be on the basketball showcase,
Hmm.
the high school basketball event, excuse me, the battle showcase, which is going to take place in Dallas, Texas, tomorrow at Copel High School. Um, it's the second high school basketball event for the 2021-2022 season. College basketball is kicking into gear finally. And the great thing about it, this event, high schoolers, and they're being featured on a national level, on a national scale. So it's going to be streamed on combination of NBC Sports Network, but primarily on Peacock.
Hmm.
I'm excited for the exposure. Before we get into the guts of this, what are your thoughts on that, Danny? High school basketball out there, national. Is this the start of where we're going to start to see other organizations like an ESPN or CBS or Fox jumping in there to grab the latest and greatest of high school players and airing their games?
I think ESPN has done it for a while. With the showcases now, I think Ted, with a lot of these now quote unquote independent academies that are coming out that are taking some of the players away in certain situations. Like inside the term itself, Vertical Academy in the Charlotte, North Carolina area is a high school. One of the teams was the team from Texas. They're considered one of the academies. You know, they're getting more focused because they're getting these players. We have Overtime Elite that's down in Atlanta. They're paying players, and I think now with the NIL rule going into effect, where these kids can make money off themselves, for likenesses and endorsement deals. We saw Mikey Williams, who's we mentioned in a minute. He has the big one, and now with high school players having that, Ted, you're going to see more exposure. because guess what? When these companies start taking on these kids, people are going to want to see what the hype is all about. You know,
Right.
can you imagine if LeBron James or Carmelo Anthony had the NIL rule when they were at Oak Hill and at St. Vincent St. Mary's? What kind of LeBron had a package. Imagine whoever gets Bronny James, or some of the other big names in these classes when they start using the NIL rule and just see how big, larger, more larger than life now. And then, Peacock, they're gonna start fighting for these games, especially with the independent academies. So I think it's a great thing for high school basketball.
So I just want to double back. When you say independent academies, you talking about like charter schools?
So their academies, yeah, like kind of sort of charter schools, like Vertical Academy was in this tournament.
Okay.
They're a they're an academy, online academy that the kids do go to school. They partner with another school, but they play an independent schedule that is a national schedule. So they're not in some kind of conference. They play the best teams across the country, just like themselves, and they showcase themselves. Like they play in these showcase type tournaments, like you're seeing this weekend. So they get
So can I stop you for a second? Is it
yeah.
more like a structured AAU? Like, so for me as a novice, and for the people that are going to watch the archive of this video, is it more for? Is it more of a structured AAU program with these independent academies?
I think it's a little bit. I think it's more structured AAU, but at the same time, the kids had the opportunity to travel like the AAU, but they had the same ability to get their education. So they're in
Gotcha.
accredited situations where they can go get their degree, their high school diplomas, and get ready for college. But at the same time, they have the travel schedule of an AAU, so they get the best of both worlds, and they don't have to do as much TED in the off season as they do because they play that national schedule against those national teams, throughout the year.
So it began in October. It was the battle in Miami. What we noticed was, top prospects, high school basketball, NBC Sports. I'm noticing that NBC is jumping in and they plan to present more than 24 basketball and football games in the battle series across their platforms.
Hmm.
Um, with what's happening tomorrow, how great would this tournament have been if it was Mikey Williams versus Bronny James?
I think anytime Bronny James is anywhere because he is a polarizing figure. Mikey and Bronny have played together in quote unquote AU AU teams for a while out in California when Mikey was out there, and they know each other very well. And you can if you watch Mikey's web series on Overtime, he calls him Unc. He calls LeBron Unc. Uncle LeBron. That's how the type of relationship they have, and it's great. It'll be great to see those two kids together, but they'll cross paths eventually. The good thing, Ted, about these types of schedules is that they don't have to play a quote unquote conference game. They go across country to play each other. There's new academies forming, and with these new academies forming, Ted, there are kids that are transferring, from powerhouse high schools to go play at these academies because it's more exposure. Because Ted, you're not pigeonholed to playing people in your state, which is not exactly a bad thing.
So we already talked about him. He's the number 13 junior, um, the top player in North Carolina,
Hmm.
Mikey Williams. Is he? Is it safe to say he's going to be the showcase player that's going to be out there tomorrow?
He's the highest profile player in the tournament. And it gets I would call it, I guess, the tournament or just the event itself. It's just interesting that they have that game as the first game out of the four.
It's the
Why
first game.
it's
Why
five
would I mean? So tell me, Danny, really quick. Why wouldn't you have that as the last game if he's the like headliner?
because when you're looking at Louisville, I think Louisville's playing the final game. There's
Yes.
in Dallas. Louisville is a national power on the basketball side. They're the local team. They're everybody wants to see. So Louisville, they have three, I think, top 100 players throughout I think the junior and senior class. they have kids. They're loaded. They're a national power. So you would have them, especially in the Dallas area, being close to home and closing out the show. Because if you watch the game on Peacock, that building, the high school gym will be packed when Louisville plays at 9 o'clock
Right.
tomorrow. So I think you got to get people there early. I mean, people like to come late. So if you
That's
come
true.
early, you can get your money's worth. And watching Mikey Williams play, for those who never seen him play, he's about 6'2". He's a combo guard. I mean, at one point, I think he scored 92 points in a game as a freshman. Uh, he transferred to North Carolina to play at Lake Norman Christian Academy because last year during COVID, California was shut down. So he didn't have a chance to play high school basketball. So he went cross country to North Carolina. He has roots and family out in North Carolina, so he went out there to play. And then over the last year, his dad started a charter school, and then partnered with one of the local schools in here. I think it was Lake Norman, and they started Vertical Academy. So his dad started it. They have some nationally rated players. They're a good team. They've played. They've been playing for the last 2 months. It's more than just Mikey Williams and his team. We'll see a lot of those kids tomorrow, and you know that's what the one thing with these academies, like as I mentioned before, they get to play a national schedule, and now, in NBC's case, because they've lost, some of the bigger sports, they can take a bigger focus on
Right.
the youth. They can use, like I said, Peacock, use NBC Sports Network, use NBC to showcase these kids. Can you imagine, Taylor, Saturday afternoon seeing NBC covering high school basketball? That could be the next wave.
I think that would be awesome. You mentioned with Louisville, with Omaha, Julian, and Jordan. Um, so does Link have any shot?
I mean, Ted, with high school basketball, Ted, it's like anything. Everybody has a chance to win high school basketball. Now, the best part about it is that these academies, especially the ones that are not, are kind of considered independent, Ted, they have a multiple players from everywhere. Louisville is a national power, but they're a national power that's not independent. They play the best of the best when they can, but of course they also play the state of Texas, and they want to win a Texas state championship. So in these games, Ted, these kids have a chance to win either side. Even with Vertical Academy and being 13th in the country among independent schools, they have a chance to win. They have a chance to lose as well too. I've seen them lose. I think they lost one of their exhibition games earlier in the year. So, Ted, I think Louisville has the best chance of winning offhand, but you don't doubt these kids. It can happen either way.
What's your thoughts on McKinney versus Wagner?
You know, it's going to be up and down game. The one thing about early season high school basketball is that you would think there'd be time to gel in these situations, but because of like the academies, these kids are so used to playing AAU. A lot of these guys have played together before. They've seen the other kids play before, so it might not be as much of a time to gel. But I think, Ted, that's going to be an up and down game. You might see both teams get in the 75, 80 point range, which is very high for high school basketball. These kids can score. Both teams can score.
The 5 o'clock game or the 5:30 game Eastern time is Premier versus, I'm going to say the name, and everyone knows the name now, Donda Academy.
Listen, Donda Academy, Ted, has three elite high school players on their team.
Yeah, three studs.
They have three studs. I mean, like I said, Donda Academy. When you get the call to go play for Kanye West School, I mean, who's going to say no in those kids? Going to play for Donda Academy. They have three elite, talented players. I think a 5-star and two 4-stars. I mean, like I said, Ted, it's power pack game after power pack game. It's not only just names, Ted. These are all schools. Like I said, Donda Academy, like Vertical, is a school that is considered independent, like a independent academy. So they're going to play a national schedule, and Ted, they have national talent. I mean, they might be the team that might impress the most out of the 8 teams in this tournament tomorrow.
And I know we talked about a little bit Copel against Vertical.
hmm
Um,
Copel's got a few kids. on the map, like I said, but everybody wants to see Mikey Williams in vertical. I would guess Mikey might go for 25 in the game. I see a 25, 5-5 with a posterizing dunk that's going to be shown on Sports Center potentially. He's going to pull something off. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he even hits for 30 tomorrow.
So, of all these names that we're seeing, all these rising stars that are in high school, without stating the obvious,
Mm-hmm.
you know, who do you think who has the potential to make the most impact
Win tomorrow's games.
in tomorrow's games?
I mean, Ted, will you just look at it in general? Ted, can you still see me?
I can still see you.
Uh, when I say that the kid that's going to make the biggest impact, I will say this. Two of the kids I really want to see. I want to see Jacoby Walker of McKinney. That McKinney and Wagner game. I want to see Jacoby Walker. He's uncommitted at the current moment. He is a lights out type of scorer. And then I really want to see Julian Phillips of Lake Academy. I'm sorry, of Louisville. And those are two guys I'm outside of Mikey Williams, of course, I want to see in those two games. And the Dominic kids are going to be good. So Ted, they're going to be a bunch of kids by you finish watching tomorrow. But, hey, I'm going to start watching these games, and you're going to start following them because the best thing about
Yes.
independent academies is Ted that they don't play in one area, so they play all across the United States. So there's going to be times they're going to be in New York pretty soon, and I know that it might get you out the house to go see some basketball, some high school basketball.
Yeah, I've been so caught up with COVID and everything else like that and trying to stay in the clear. But if you're telling me the Battle Showcase could potentially show up in New York, meaning Brooklyn or
Mm-hmm.
at MSG, there might be an opportunity there. But hey,
I think eventually will end up in one of those big arenas. I think now they just want to see, you're in Dallas, you want to see how big the crowds are. Because Ted, think about this: when Bronny played 2 years ago in Dallas, it was almost a sellout. They played Minneapolis against where Chet Holmgren, his team, I think in Minnehaha, Ted, they put 19,000 people inside the Target Center to
wow.
watch Bronny hit that game. Bronny and Zaire Wade and BJ Boston and you know, and those kids play that game and Master was with Chet Holmgren and Jalen Suggs that's in the NBA and Masterpiece, two kids on that same team. And it was insane crowd when Bronny hit the game winner.
So tell me this really quick.
Mhm.
For games like this, does it make more sense to put them in a normal size arena, like a standard, or would you go with something smaller, like at a college or something like that?
I've always been the type to think of ticket sales. I think ticket sales dictate everything because I'll be honest with you, Ted, when you're in big cities like that, you can find venues pretty quickly. You just don't want to put these kids in an NBA-sized arena if they don't have NBA-sized fans at the current moment. Ted, a lot of people are still skeptical of leaving the house right now.
Right.
You know, we don't know if we're going to have a McDonald's All-American game this year. We don't know about the Jordan Brand Classic, but I mean, with COVID the way it is, who knows what we're looking into. I think in most cases this would have been. I wouldn't have thought of high school. I think it would have been a smaller college. Maybe even one of the NIA schools, something with a bigger gymnasium. But
Okay.
Ted, surprised me, Ted, if that place was packed to the rim tomorrow. Wouldn't be surprising. They love high school. They love basketball in the state of Texas. Wait till
Gotcha.
wait till football gets something like this. You mentioned that it's just not just basketball.
It's
You know, we
basketball and football.
we've seen the interconference matchups, and you go on ESPN and you see interstate matchups. I think it was a couple weeks ago on ESPNU. We saw Arch Manning playing a school.
Yes. Yes.
Arch Manning is the next one, but like you said, now with the NIL rule, Ted, these kids getting money for themselves. Remember, Ted, Mikey just signed a deal with Puma.
Right.
And so we're going to be in situations where this is going to be the norm now, especially with kids getting endorsements.
It's true. That's really true. Well, I will tell you this much. I will be watching tomorrow. Big shout out to our friends at the Battle US. Um, Cope's Corner, thank you for jumping in here. Big shout out to you. Um, Danny, I know you'll be watching tomorrow. Tell us, thank you for the awards. Tell me this much, Danny, best ways of getting in contact with you and following you and everything that's happening in your world.
Listen, you can follow me at Twitter at Danny DANNY number three Thompson on Twitter. You can listen to my show, Sports Insight 757 with Jay Lee, Saturdays at 9 o'clock Eastern Time in the 757 on Sports Radio 850 AM, otherwise known as 96.5 FM. You can check out my work at the 3pointconversion.com. I also work at times at latenightparents.com. And, you know, we know it's basketball season, sports season all around. So you might never know where I might pop back up perhaps, not just on your spot, but somewhere else. You never know.
Got it. Got it. Danny, thanks